The arena floated like a glittering ulcer on the edge of the molten diamond planet Clythar 9, its colossal shields humming with a low, persistent whine of energy fields stretched too thin. From orbit, it looked elegant, like a crown ringed in emerald fire. Inside, it smelled of wet ozone, scorched bone, and the sickly sweet musk of 50,000 species packed shoulder to shoulder, their cheers layered in frequencies that could rupture a Terran's eardrums. A slime merchant from the Chotar conglomerate was arguing with his bookmaker about odds. "You're telling me the mammal has a chance? That's absurd." His tendrils quivered, droplets of turquoise mucus splattering the floor. The bookmaker, a crab-like creature with mandibles painted gold, clacked smugly. "I'm telling you, humans are unpredictable. Weak, yes, but annoyingly resourceful." The merchant spat. "Resourceful doesn't matter when you're vaporized in the first 10 seconds. Overhead, a booming voice cut through the chatter, translated into 10,000 tongues by semi-sentient vox orbs. "Behold, the final battle of the blood games. To the victor, glory. To the loser, oblivion." Floodlights snapped on, blinding in their brilliance, and the crowd erupted. Howls, clicks, trills, and smells. Some species cheer with pheromones, crashing like a tidal wave over the Colosseum. From the western gate, a hulking figure emerged. 7 meters tall, armored in black chitin streaked with luminous war paint. The reigning champion of the Galactic Empire stomped forward. His 8 limbs moved with terrifying grace, plasma vents hissing on his back as the ground trembled beneath him. "Challenger, the mammal from O3, the Vox Orb announced, dripping disdain even through its machine filters. The laughter that followed wasn't just cruel. It was a force of nature. Mira Elwood, codename Ellie, walked through the eastern gate. Alone, no armor, no ceremonial war paint. Just a matte black tactical suit, its surface so simple it offended every jewel-encrusted noble in the crowd. Her boots made no sound as they met the arena's metallic surface. To some spectators, she looked like prey, delicate, narrow-shouldered, a pair of gray eyes set in a pale face that betrayed no fear. To others, the very absence of theatrics was unsettling. She small, murmured a sentient fern in the front row, leaves trembling. "She's already dead," snickered a tentacled gambler, rolling his betting slip into a tight cylinder. "Best to keep your eyes on the first 10 seconds. They'll be messy." But Mira kept walking, unhurried, rifle slung across her back like it belonged there. Her gaze swept the arena once, calculating trajectories, scanning for environmental hazards, gravity spikes, heat vents, unstable power nodes. She exhaled once through her nose, adjusted her gloves, and stopped 10 meters from her opponent. The Vox Orb hummed again. Per the ancient accords, should the human defeat our champion, their request will be honored. The prisoner will be returned to Sol 3. Should the human fail, the orb paused for effect. The crowd leaned forward. Then Sol 3 will burn. A roar like an earthquake ripped through the Colosseum. Plasma banners unfurled above the stands, depicting Clythar's champion splitting lesser creatures in half with a single swipe of his claws. Mira tightened her grip on her rifle. The champion, a monstrosity called Historic, stomped forward and bared rows of glowing teeth. His voice boomed directly into her skull via Neuralink. "Fragile creature, I admire your bravery. It will make your death taste sweet." Myra's lips quirked just slightly. "You'll have to get close enough to taste it." The alien let out a sound between a roar and a laugh. 2 of his smaller limbs began drumming against his thorax, producing a thunderous beat that echoed through the arena. "Bold," Hess grumbled. But boldness doesn't stop gravity. The arena shifted. Hess slammed a clawed fist into the ground. Gravity surged, quadrupling instantly. Myra's knees buckled, but she didn't collapse. Her breath came slow, measured. Her body screamed, but her mind whispered calculations. Gravity spike, localized artificial, projected drift radius, 2 meters, stable for approximately 7 seconds before cooldown. Hesk lunged, a blur of claws and armor plates, plasma vents flaring blue. The air boiled in his wake. The crowd screamed in bloodlust. Mira moved, 2 steps left, dropped to one knee, shoulder the rifle, line up the shot, The announcer's voice cut through the noise, gleeful. Oh, she's fast for a mammal, but is she fast enough? Plasma carved a molten trench where she'd been standing half a second earlier. Her finger brushed the trigger. Her gray eyes narrowed. Wind sheer negligible. Gravity flux stabilizing. Target neural node partially exposed between chitin plates during overextension. Probability of success, 73.8%. She didn't fire. Not yet. Hesk thundered past, twisting his massive bulk for a second strike. Pathetic, he growled. You don't even fight back. Myra's internal voice was flat, almost amused. You'll see. In the stands, a bored aristocrat blinked translucent eyelids and said, they should make this quick. Terrans are soft. One strike, and she'll pop like a nectar fruit. The slime merchant nodded. And yet, what? Look at her. Why isn't she afraid? Mira exhaled. One clean breath, one calm heartbeat. Hesk was already pivoting for the killing blow, claws charged with plasma energy. The announcer bellowed. It's over. The challenger is... The shot came first. A whisper. A single round that cut the air in two. Hesk froze. For half a second, nothing happened. Then the glow in his eyes flickered. His limbs twitched. And the Colossus collapsed, hitting the arena floor with a sound like a mountain cracking in half. Silence. The arena, the entire Galactic crowd, froze in collective disbelief. Even the scent-based cheers stopped, leaving the air sterile. A single gray-eyed human lowered her rifle. Mira Elwood's voice carried across the stunned Coliseum. Next time, don't underestimate the mammal. She was called Ellie once, back in the days when names still felt like anchors. These days, it was just Mira Elwood, a name spoken in hushed tones inside classified war rooms and muttered with mild contempt in galactic security briefings. To most of Earth's brass, she was an instrument, sharp, unerring, and cold as a blade. To Mira herself, she was nothing, and nothingness suited her fine. It wasn't heroism that placed her on that alien battlefield, standing nose to thorax with a 7-meter murder machine. It was math and silence, two things Mira wielded better than any human alive. She had been recruited in a cafeteria. Of all places, the man from the Silent Arrow program found her hunched over a paper tray of synth rations, calculating trajectory corrections on a napkin. Mira Elwood, he asked. She glanced up, gray eyes flat and unreadable. I'm eating. He smiled faintly. Good. You'll need that energy. You've just been drafted. She didn't bother asking questions. The program didn't bother answering them. There was no melodrama, no tragic backstory, no teary vow to avenge a fallen comrade. Mira had grown up in the quiet shadow of Earth's rebuilt megacities, and she'd been overlooked her entire life, a ghost in crowded rooms. Teachers had called her emotionally detached. Co-workers whispered, frigid, behind her back. What they didn't understand was that detachment wasn't a defect. It was armor. The program noticed. They didn't want loud. They wanted precise. On the firing range, she was flawless. Her instructors tried to fluster her, screaming in her ear, blasting sirens mid-shot, even firing stun round at her legs as she aimed. She never missed. Once, an alien liaison from a Martin collective snorted when she entered the training chamber. That's your prodigy? It said, its voice like wet glass. She's fragile, small-boned, a whisper of gravity, and she'll splatter across the hull. Myra's voice was calm, nearly bored. Fragile doesn't mean harmless. Then she shot the pin off the alien's rank insignia from 800 meters. She never celebrated. Even when the simulations ranked her best probability of survival human division, Mira barely blinked. Her fellow recruits avoided her, not out of cruelty, but instinct. There was something in her stillness that unnerved people, like a predator in a frozen forest, unseen but waiting. The nickname came from a jittery comms operator during a live training exercise. Elwood's gone, the operator whispered, scanning her feed. She's like a ghost. Ellie, the ghost. It stuck. Then came the diplomatic disaster on Zethus Prime. The Galactic Empire soldiers had stormed an Earth consulate, snatching a civilian researcher, Sarah Klein, off the street like a stray pup. Earth's leaders were furious, but fury doesn't win wars. The Empire issued its terms with all the grace of a predator licking its teeth. Your species may challenge us in the blood games. One human champion. One fight. If they win, we return your pet. If they lose... Earth's first reaction was to send its strongest soldier, a battle-hardened Marine with the arms of a gorilla and the temper of a rabid starhound. That Marine died in the qualifying round. Mira didn't volunteer. She didn't have to. The program tapped her shoulder while she was midway through assembling her rifle. "Pack your kit, Elwood," her handler said. "You're going to Clythar 9. Her first response wasn't shock or fear. It was math. Odds of surviving Historic, 1 in 9,000. Odds of successful extraction, 1 in 13,500. Odds of dying messily on an alien live stream, 1 in 1. The transport ship reeked of antiseptic and burnt circuitry. Mira sat in her seat, helmet on her lap, eyes fixed on the dark void beyond the viewport. Around her, alien guards fidgeted. One, a crimson-skinned warrior from Volcari Prime, leaned close enough for her to smell its scorched iron breath. "You will die quickly, human," it rasped, "perhaps even cleanly. I will make a wager." Mira didn't look up. "You'll lose it." The alien barked a laugh. "You amuse me. Not enough to keep you alive, but amuse me nonetheless." The ship docked at the arena's outer gates. As the ramp hissed open, a wave of sound hit her. Alien voices in thousands of dialects, the roar of engines, the shrill buzz of Venbots hawking fried organ meat. A younger soldier handed Mira her rifle, fingers trembling. "Good luck out there, ma'am." She took it without a word. Luck wasn't real, but geometry was. On the long walk to the arena gates, Mira thought about Sarah Klein, the woman she was here to save. Mira didn't know her. She didn't have to. It wasn't about friendship or patriotism or even revenge. It was about proving, once and for all, that humans weren't fragile pets to be kidnapped at will. That thought carried her across the threshold. Inside the arena, the air was thick with pheromones and heat. Alien banners shimmered overhead, depicting Historic standing triumphant atop mountains of corpses. Mira didn't flinch. The crowd laughed when they saw her. The Vox Orb introduced her, in tones dripping with mockery. From the insignificant world of Sol 3, a mammal barely worthy of a name, Mira Elwood. A tidal wave of alien laughter swept the arena. Myra's boots made no sound as she stepped forward. In her mind, she was already lining up shots, already calculating. One clean breath, one calm heartbeat. Historic loomed over her like a living fortress. "You are small," he said, voice reverberating through the arena. Soft. "I will snap you in two." Myra's tone was mild, almost polite. "You'll have to catch me first." The alien roared in amusement. The crowd joined in, but the announcer's voice was already booming over the noise. "Begin." And Mira moved like a ghost. The moment the announcer's voice cracked across the arena, "Begin!" the air seemed to fold in on itself. Gravity surged. The floor's plates groaned, and Mira felt her weight quadruple in an instant. The Empire's favorite little trick. Historic lunged before the echo had even faded, his clawed limbs slicing through the space where Mira had been a fraction of a second earlier. The ground split beneath his strike, molten metal bubbling up from the gouge. Mira slid across the arena floor, her movements tight and deliberate. Her boots hit a low-gravity zone, and she used it to pivot her momentum, landing lightly behind a fractured pillar. Environmental analysis. Gravity spikes in quadrants 2 and 4. Heat venting in quadrant 6. Time to recalibrate trajectory paths. 1.4 seconds. A flicker of sound to her left. Hesk's plasma vent hissed like a predator drawing breath. "You run well for a fragile creature." His voice boomed in her skull, threaded with amusement. "But running won't save you." Mira said nothing. Talking wasted oxygen. Instead, she breathed shallowly, her pulse a calm metronome, and slid her rifle from her back. The matte black weapon unfolded with a soft hiss as its sight array flickered online. The crowd above roared. "She hides!" One alien shrieked, 3 tongues flailing in delight. "Like a rodent." "Give it a moment," murmured a Chotar diplomat to his mate. "Humans always hide before they bite." Hesk's claws slammed into her cover, splintering the pillar. The shockwave sent Mira sprawling across the floor. Her rifle skittered 2 meters away, dangerously close to a gravity seam. "Do you see now, mammal?" Hesk's voice was thunder, carrying easily over the bloodlust of the crowd. "This is no place for prey." Mira didn't answer. She rolled, narrowly avoiding a column of superheated gas that erupted from the venting system, and lunged for her weapon. Her fingers brushed cold metal just as the arena shifted again. Gravity cut to a third of standard, and her body floated briefly before slamming down hard as the system spiked back to triple. Ribcage compression, 18%. Breathing efficiency, reduced. Pain radiated through her chest, but Mira didn't flinch. She adjusted her rifle, recalibrating the sight's gyrostabilizer for the shifting gravitational pull. Hesk was coming fast, 8 limbs a blur, his bulk impossibly nimble as he closed the distance. Time until impact, 3.2 seconds. Target's neural node exposed during plasma venting cycle. Exposure window, 0.7 seconds. "Die now, and I will make it quick," Hess growled, claws raised for the final strike. Myra's response was clinical. "I've heard that before." The rifle bucked in her hands. A single shot, no hesitation. The round sliced through the pressurized air, a whisper of death too fast for the crowd to register. Hesk froze mid-lunge. For a moment, the arena went silent. Even the Vox orbs ceased their droning commentary. Then, slowly, almost delicately, Hesk's massive form trembled. His plasma vents flared and then sputtered out. The alien champion staggered back, claws twitching as a pinpoint burn glowed bright at the base of his skull, right through the chitin plate. "You," he rasped, his massive voice suddenly small. "You're nothing." Mira lowered her rifle, gray eyes steady. "Nothing doesn't miss." Hesk collapsed in a heap, his armored body slamming into the arena floor with sound like a collapsing starship hull. Silence. The alien crowd, tens of thousands of species from across the Empire, stared in collective disbelief. A mammal had won. High above, the Imperial dignitaries hissed and trilled in outrage. One jelly-like aristocrat burst in a cloud of angry spores, screeching, "This is a farce!" The human cheated. But the Vox orb had already spoken. By the sacred laws of the blood games, the challenger is victorious. Mira stood alone, the weight of 50,000 alien eyes pressing in like a second gravity field. She didn't smile. She didn't raise her weapon in triumph. Instead, she slung the rifle over her shoulder, adjusted her gloves, and walked slowly toward the eastern gate. As she passed Hesk's twitching body, the fallen champion let out a low, gurgling growl. "You will always be prey." Mira looked back. Not today. The arena was still bleeding silence when Mira reached the gate. Even the air felt brittle, as if one careless breath would shatter it. Behind her, Hestorka's body lay sprawled across the cracked floor, steam rising from the cauterized puncture in his neural node. His death hadn't come with scream or roar, only the hollow thump of a giant falling, loud enough to ripple through the bones of every onlooker. Above, the Imperial banners flickered, their projected symbols struggling to reconcile a living war god with the concept of defeated. One by one, they extinguished themselves, collapsing into static. Myra's boots made no sound as she walked. In the stands, the alien crowd stirred as if waking from a dream. Murmurs slithered through the tiers. Sharp insect clicks, wet gurgles, and ultrasonic hums meant for auditory systems far more delicate than human ears. Some stared at Mira in awe. Most stared in horror. A few reached for comm slates, already calculating what this upset would mean for the galactic power balance. She won, gasped a furred ambassador whose species prided itself on war chants and claw dances. A mammal won. A fluke, hissed the crystalline noble, its facets vibrating. The human cheated. They must have. No cheat. replied a Chotar diplomat in a voice as soft as mucus sliding over glass. She simply didn't miss. Mira didn't slow her pace as a contingent of Imperial guards scrambled into her path, energy pikes leveled. The lead guard, a six-eyed reptilian with ceremonial spikes running down his spine, hissed, "Terran, the Emperor has not yet sanctioned your departure." She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. "Then tell him I'm leaving anyway." The guard hesitated, claws flexing, but something in her stillness made him pause. She radiated the same precision that had felled their champion, quiet, exact, and terrifyingly efficient. A second later, the Vox orb descended from above. Accords have been met. The human is to be released with her prize. Let it be done. The guard stepped back as if she burned them. They brought Sarah Klein to her in chains. The researcher's face was pale and smudged with grime, her eyes wide with exhaustion and disbelief. "You," she began, her voice catching. "You actually came." Mira studied her for a moment. Then she reached out, snapping the shackles apart with a twist of her wrist. "You're going home." Sarah's hands trembled as she touched her bruised wrists. "And you? Are you human?" "Last I checked," Mira murmured. The two of them walked side by side to the docking bay, flanked by stunned alien personnel too shocked or too afraid to interfere. Myra's rifle was slung casually over her shoulder, its matte black finish still warm from the shot that had rewritten galactic politics. Earth's ambassador was waiting at the ship. His suit was rumpled, his forehead beaded with sweat. "Elwood," he stammered, forcing a smile. "Excellent work. Absolutely exemplary." Mira raised an eyebrow. "You sound surprised." "Not at all," he lied. "But, we've created quite a stir. The Empire will be recalibrating its stance toward humanity, shall we say." Behind them, the arena's lights dimmed, and the sound of angry debate spilled from the upper chambers. Alien voices argued in 1,000 tongues, their words overlapping in a chorus of outrage. This sets a dangerous precedent. If humans can kill Historic, what else are they capable of? They must be contained, controlled, or eliminated. Mirrodin turned back. The ship lifted off with a low hum, its thrusters trembling as it broke through the atmosphere of Clythar 9. Sarah sat quietly across from her, staring at her savior like one might stare at a storm that spared them. "Why did you come?" Sarah asked softly. Mira adjusted her gloves, checking for invisible imperfections. "Orders." "That's all." "That's enough." As the molten diamond planet shrank in the viewport, Mira let out a slow breath. Back in the arena, the body of Historic was already being carved apart by Imperial scientists desperate to understand how a human bullet had undone their champion. They wouldn't find the answer they wanted. It wasn't in the bullet. It was in her. Somewhere in the galactic capital, an emergency council convened. Leaders hissed and shrieked about the Terran threat, arguing over whether Earth should be destroyed before their soft species could rise further. One ambassador, a three-limbed philosopher from the Polari Corps, spoke softly into the chaos. Perhaps the mammals are not so soft after all. As the ship drifted into the black, Mira closed her eyes and let herself feel the weight she'd been ignoring, the weight of every calculation, every breath, every precisely timed heartbeat. It wasn't victory she felt. It was quiet, and quiet was all she needed.